All right, we're back with our web components intro. And the next thing we want to talk about is slots. So here's a 25-cent word for you, transclusion. So transclusion is when an element includes other elements as children. So let's try that out first and see what happens. All right, so we put that in there, some really cool description of those headphones as a child of our component or of our web component or custom element. And what we don't see is that content actually showing up in our component because the browser doesn't know where to put it. So we need to alter our template to make that happen. All right, so now we can see it, and that's transclusion. We're taking elements from within our custom element in the page side and then placing them somewhere inside of it that we get to control. And that's pretty easy to grok, but now comes the noodle baker. So check this out. All right, wait, hold up. So every element within our H2 should be red, right? We've defined that in our styles. Every element defined by our custom element, true. But for elements we transclude, they get the CSS from wherever they're defined. So that one was defined in the page, so it gets blue, which is the page color. Now, before you think, oh, that sucks, it actually rules, and here is why. It allows you to create layout components. So for example, you can create a dialog custom element that has a content area that uses a slot. And that way you have the content, which is defined by the page that uses that dialog element, formatted however you want, right? But you still get all the positioning and stuff from the dialog custom element. And that's really cool. So now to kind of build on that dialog example, I want to cover having like multiple slots. So you can imagine for a dialog, you might have a header and content and buttons. So this allows you to do that by having named slots. So let's create a price area, a price slot in our custom element. All right, so on the other side, all you need to do is add a slot attribute to any tag in the child, and it'll be put in the right spot. So let's try that out. All right, cool. So those are actually pretty cheap headphones. So, all right, I just want to connect the two here. So we got slot equals price on this side, and then over here, we've got slot name equals price. And so that's how these two are linking up. That's pretty sweet, right? I mean, so you can imagine in our dialog example, you'd have a slot with name equals header, and then maybe the content would be just slot, and then you have another slot for buttons. Really cool. All right. If you're familiar with this stuff already, it's pretty standard. You might be using Vue because it's pretty standard in the Vue world. Yet another reason to learn Vue, I guess. All right, so the last thing on the slot topic, slots only work if you use the shadow DOM. So that's another reason to use the shadow DOM. In fact, there's kind of a debate in the community about about the value of using or not using the shadow DOM in some cases. And the consensus, if there's ever a consensus in the UI world, seems to be on the side of actually using the shadow DOM for all of your custom elements. All right. Now we pretty much wrapped up everything I wanted to cover on the basics of web components. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to integrate custom elements into your framework-based apps, like your React app or your Vue app or whatever, and understand what the value of doing that is.